Salutations, respected viewers. I am George from Ireland, and this video is about President Trump's upcoming state visit to the United Kingdom. So, in view of the fact I'm talking about such an august event, I really have dressed for the occasion, as you can see, and I've got my laundry drying in the background, which expresses what importance and dignity I attach to President Trump's visit. He's due to visit the United Kingdom in June. So what is a state visit? Well, it is the supreme expression of amity between two sovereign states, and it suggests there are no outstanding issues between them. Like if there was something unresolved, like some territorial dispute or whatever, then this wouldn't go ahead. You'd need to sort that out first. There are other visits which are one down from that, other official visits, but they're not state visits. State visits are very, very important, and we're certainly in the United Kingdom, this is where it will go, that Her Majesty the Queen will invite another head of state once in her reign and once in the reign or rule of him or her, the other person. For instance, she invited the King of Norway once, the King of Norway invited her back once, that's it. They will never do it again as individuals. If there were to be a new Norwegian monarch, the Queen could invite that person, all right, again, in the current Queen's lifetime. Likewise, when the Queen dies, let's say the Queen died, Trump visits, then the Queen drops dead next day. There could be another exchange of visits between Trump and the new British monarch, that'd be the current Prince Charles. So if you hope you get that, it's once in the lifetime of each head of state that they will do it to the other country, because it's such a big deal. It's with great fanfare, and there's much circumstance surrounding it. Now, President Trump is so often inflammatory, and this invitation to him was issued within days of his inauguration and was highly tendentious. It attracted a great deal of negative comment because of so many of the incendiary and offensive things that President Trump has said. And obviously he's got absolutely no manners. You can't bring him anywhere. And he's often insulting towards his hosts. And obviously he visited the United Kingdom last year, July last year, if I got that right. And he made some highly disobliging remarks on the record about Theresa May before he went. Now, I'm certainly in favour of freedom of expression. I wouldn't say it's illegal or anything. I'm just saying it's discourteous. It's the height of bad manners to be rude about your host. Now, he wasn't actually in the UK at the time, but right before he went. Whereas, as we know, Trump is extraordinarily touchy. If anybody says anything that Trump finds to be disagreeable, questions his level of wealth, for example, that sends him apoplectic. Why does he have such a profound insecurity about how much money he has? Perhaps because he's got nothing like as much money as he would have us believe, which would explain why he is taking such strenuous efforts to keep his tax return secret. Anyway, a considered opinion is required. Should this state visit go ahead? Well, as the invitation is issued, I think that it should. Should the invitation have been issued? That I find a more difficult question. I'm slightly minded to say no, but I realise that a state visit is not about an individual, it is about a country. President Trump will not be there forever. He represents all the people of the United States, 320 million. I know many Americans say, no, well, I don't want to be represented by this man. He's nothing like us. He's an absolute national disgrace. But even if most of them dislike him, he is the president of the United States, and that's that. And people simply have to deal with that fact. So, and there will be a great deal of rancor in the UK occasioned by Trump's visit, and indeed outrage in some quarters. Well, it's not a fabulous thing, but a country must accept foreign heads of state with a certain level of courtesy. Now, you don't have to invite the heads of state of all countries. Some of them treat their own people so abominably that they should not be invited. And the UK has played host to tyrants. People are far worse than President Trump. And they're often the embarrassing progeny of the UK's own imperial arcana. The worrying thing here is just how egregiously bad Trump is in relation to other American presidents. And he's been hurtling at great speed towards xenophobia and authoritarianism and things like that. But anyway, what's the protocol? So obviously he lands, usually not at Heathrow, at RAF Northolt, which is an airbase inside the M25. That's the ring road around London. So the red carpet is rolled out and he will be greeted, usually by the Prince of Wales, better known as Prince Charles. And there'll be some soldiers on the tarmac for him to inspect. Go by Marine One, the President's personal helicopter. either to Buckingham Palace or to Windsor Castle. So Windsor Castle is about 20 miles west of London. It is the largest inhabited castle in the world, and the British royal family take their surname from that. That's what they're called, Windsor. So obviously it's a much smaller town, Windsor, and it's easy to do security. It doesn't disrupt the traffic so much. Anyway, at some point they'll be in Buckingham Palace. They'll be in their horse-drawn carriage for a ride up the Mall, that road which goes straight in front of Buckingham Palace. There'll be a 21-gun salute in Green Park, right beside that. And there'll be some ceremony inspecting the Guard of Honour there on Horse Guards Parade in London. That's only about a mile from Buckingham Palace. Anyway, there'll be a state dinner either at Buckingham Palace or at Windsor Castle. So it's in white tie, as in men wear those black suits with these white dress shirts and white bow ties. They're tailcoats, the black coats they wear, and ladies would wear, is it a ball gown? Yeah, I think it's a ball gown. So then they walk in paired, they're 2 by 2, as in Her Majesty the Queen with President Trump. Then Prince Philip, that's the Queen's husband, walking beside the First Lady. And I don't know how they pair off by that, gentleman and lady, each from different countries, various dignitaries, government ministers and so on. And bizarrely, the national anthems are played very slowly and softly as they walk in. People are not standing into attention, they're just walking in. And then they have their dinner, and they've got to see that the menu is acceptable. Obviously, no alcohol is served if it's a country which doesn't touch alcohol. It'll be served this time. President Trump doesn't drink, so maybe they won't serve wine to him. And then there'll be speeches that they will have vetted. So the Queen's speechwriters will write hers, hand it to President Trump's team. Are you okay with that? Anything you object to? What do you want us to excise, tone down the language, or what? Likewise, President Trump's team will write a speech for him, which they'll show to Buckingham Palace, and the Queen's people will be offered a chance to say, no, please remove that, or change that word, or say something about this. So the speeches are completely acceptable to each side, and they stand up and deliver a speech, not a terribly long one. And it's not with a great verve. There's no huge audience. There are only about 100 people at the dinner at a very long table. And the thought goes into everything about which the service they use, as in which crockery they use. There might be particular significance to the ones they're displaying. It might have been manufactured in the United States, or a gift from a previous president, things like that. So I think I'm right in saying that all US presidents since Kennedy have been on a state visit, not just an official visit, but a state visit. So remember, these invitations, they're only issued when it's certain that it will be accepted. And President Trump's team said, yeah, sure, we will. And then he was going to open the new US embassy, which he decided was a dreadful deal, and he tried to lay the blame on Obama. In fact, the whole thing was agreed by George W. Bush. But then Trump, because he didn't like that, he decided he wasn't going to come, which again is extraordinarily rude and really offensive. And now he is going to come. So I suppose the state visit wasn't actually cancelled, it was just postponed sine die. So it's supposed to happen in July. But he doesn't seem to realise what significance is attached to the state visit, and just what poor form it is to postpone it at short notice when there was no particular reason, just because he got the hump about this embassy deal, which he thought was not advantageous. So they're often invited to address Parliament, a joint session of the two houses of Parliament, the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Now, they can't all fit into the House of Commons chamber or the House of Lords chamber. So they meet in Westminster Hall. So Parliament is a complex of buildings, and Westminster Hall is part of that. Westminster Hall is the largest room there. It dates back to about 1100, finished in the reign of William Rufus. Now, there have been fires in Parliament, the last one in 1834, which destroyed most of it. So when you look at the Houses of Parliament, almost all of it is post-1834 construction, only finished in the 1860s. Westminster Hall is original, is about the only original bit to have survived, and it's an extraordinarily historic setting. For example, that was where Thomas More was put on trial. That was where Charles I was put on trial. When various monarchs have died, they sometimes lain in state there. And when foreign heads of state have addressed Parliament, it has been at Westminster Hall, like Obama did, like President Michael D. Higgins of Ireland did. So the Speaker of the House of Commons is one of the three key holders of Westminster Hall, and it's in his gift whether to invite the President or not. And the Speaker of the House of Commons is Sir John Bercow, formerly Conservative MP. The Speaker has to be neutral. He resigns from his or her party, and so the Speaker is not meant to express views on things. It was debated in the House of Commons. Ought President Trump be invited or not? And Sir John said that he shouldn't. And it's perhaps surprising that he said that. It's not an intervention into partisan politics. So that's that. Because how much the Prime Minister may want President Trump to address Parliament at Westminster Hall, the Speaker can say no. I suppose Theresa May could try and organise it in another venue, but quite a lot of MPs wouldn't turn up because they wish to express their complete abhorrence at Trump's behaviour. So remember July last year, there was an official visit to keep President Trump happy, including a dinner at Blenheim Palace. Blenheim Palace is about 8 miles north of Oxford. It's the residence of the Duke of Marlborough. And Blenheim Palace is the birthplace of Sir Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill is American on his mother's side. His mother, Jenny Jerome, was a New York socialite. So this was intended to appeal very much to President Trump, and some American business executives were invited there as well. So that was that. So it was a black tie dinner rather than a white tie dinner. A black tie dinner is wearing what we call dinner jackets, what Americans would call tuxedos. Remember, white tie is wearing the black tailcoats, the white shirts, and the white bow tie. Whereas a dinner jacket or tuxedo, if you prefer, is wearing the black bow tie. And if the men are wearing dinner jackets, then the ladies, their equivalent would be an evening dress as opposed to a ball gown. And that was almost a state visit, but now it is a full thing, and it is a really big deal. And obviously huge security costs. It cost millions for Trump then to go up to Scotland to one of his golf courses, stay at one of his hotels. So it's going ahead, and obviously the relationship is important for the two, especially as the UK is trying to finalise Brexit. And if the UK is not going to be in the common market, then the United Kingdom would like to secure good trade deals with the United States, and therefore it would be an unwise idea to get up President Trump's nose, and Theresa May might be doing everything she can to stroke his ego. Well, that's that for the state visit.